Gauss gun. Everybody loves it. It can get you to places where you shouldn't be in, it fires fast, and it's an overall fun addition to Half-Life 1. But what if you were to make it into a pistol and gimp its power just by a little bit? Well, Entropy02 had answered this for us by giving the prototype Gauss gun, and today we will be answering if you can beat the entirety of Easy 2 with only the Gauss pistol. Let us lay down some basic rules beforehand. So, the game as usual is set on hard difficulty. I'll be attempting the Wilson ending, which means that I'll have to kill the advisor, can't wait for that. The only weapon that I'm allowed to use is the Gauss pistol. I can engage with my mighty foot because it's kinda bound to the movement system, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to not use the kick. Anyway, using the other weapons for solving puzzles is allowed, however I'll highlight those cases. And finally, no vehicles with one exception. So, with those rules out of the way, let us proceed. Oh yeah, if you haven't noticed, this whole video contains spoilers, so if you don't want to see them, remember to leave a like and subscribe before leaving. We begin in the flashback section, where we are introduced to our protagonist, Aiden Walker, otherwise known as 3650, or as I will refer to him throughout the rest of the video, Bad Cop. Bad Cop is set on headcrab clearing duty when he overhears some other Metro cops want to frame him into not getting promoted or something, which gets them kicked to death. After that, we are moved into the timeline to the beginning of the first Entropy Zero game, and then finally we are dropped to the game proper. Kind of, as before we are dropped into the Arctic, we have to get briefed by the advisor about how I'm about to make the greatest mistake of my life, and then I can finally pass through Nova Prospect after 3-man bunny hopped in and around it. The place is crawly with antlines, however, what people don't seem to realize is that you literally can walk past like every single border without any consequences. Excluding the final stage where you actually are required to destroy said warrens. In the meantime, you are bombarded by both antlion soldiers and workers. Thankfully, this is the sole appearance of them, because if that wouldn't be the case, my episode 2 PTSD would kick in and I would probably get a mental breakdown. Anyway, after destroying the burrows, we are forced to fight the guard, and after killing it, we are finally extracted from Nova Prospect to the Arctic. Our dropship is sadly shut down and we have to proceed on foot afterwards, killing like a buttload of rebels along the way. Here we are introduced to the 3 basic types of them. The regulars, which are, well, regular. Medics, which drop health on death and can heal their allies in battle. And the most dangerous one, the Assault Rebel. This rebel is wearing a welder mask, which blocks headshots, and is usually armed with a shotgun, which excels in close quarter combat. I know, shocker. Which, as I will learn really soon, is going to be a major pain in my ass. Anyway, after the second use of slams, the satchel charges, we move into Arbeit Building 1, where I get a rude awakening of lead. Like, a lot of it. Rebels are overwhelming in numbers, and I actually have to use cover to protect myself from damage. Holy shit, a Half-Life game that requires me to think during combat. That's impressive. After overrunning their positions, I am introduced to my target, that being Judith Mossman, and a Certron radio operator, which, I don't know, sounds really familiar, but I just can't put my finger on it. Like, I think I've heard it from some kind of a Lambda radio or something like that. I'm not sure. It's just very familiar. Anyway, we land in the sniper warehouse, where I have to dodge bullets, which, in opposition to what was stated in Meet the Heavy, is pretty easy actually. Just a shame that I have to do that twice, with the second time being also ambushed by jumper teams. Jumpers are a type of enemy with scavenged aperture tech, which allows them for superior mobility, however, they are lightly armed. No, not really. Because for some reason, their CSS weapons are as powerful as shotguns or AR-2s. It's weird, but on greater distances they thankfully don't pose much of a threat. After running across the warehouse twice, I get to the abandoned part of the facility, where I am introduced to the evil clone, which is, well, my evil clone, not much to say. He was sent here previously and got abandoned by Combine. This made him baby rage, and instead of dying like a proper soldier, he survived in the tunnels of Arbeit for months, it seems. Anyway, long story short, we get into the lower parts of the building where an entire Arbite testing facility is located. In here we are disarmed, which isn't really that concerning given the fact that I only lost 50% of my arsenal and meet up with everyone's favorite turret, Wilson. He'll be an instrumental part of this playthrough, and such I'll just be carrying him throughout the rest of the game, which is going to be problematic to say the least. Along the way we are introduced to the Gnome, which is a heavily mutated headcrab zombie, which I'm not particularly keen on meeting face to face to say the least. After some time I reached my clone's resting place. After getting the other 50% of my arsenal back, I am ready to take down the big zombie boss, and I proceed and realize that he is a complete pushover. So let me elaborate. During the fight, Wilson helps you by seeing doors, which are going to spawn 2 fast zombies by the way, and this screws up with Gnome's pathfinding, making it go crazy. Literally. Also, what doesn't help is that it gets stuck on crawlers, which are literally everywhere, so with some trial and error, including one time when Wilson fucking kills me, I secure the kill and can proceed forward. Back in the facility number 1, we can see that our boys had set themselves up, and we get a meeting with our boss, who is quite displeased that we didn't find Mossman yet. After a couple of mental attacks, we are sent to other structures, which are going to be so much fun to traverse because of the lack of vehicles rule. See, in this section we are supposed to drive an APC, which even has a slot for Wilson or for generic turret if that's your jam. However, I'm not going to use that, and instead I'll just bunny hop towards my objective. Yes, bunny hop and not accelerate back hop, because the reason for it is that after a certain amount of hammer units, Bad Cop simply can't hold on to Wilson anymore and drops him, which is something that we obviously don't want, so no more bunny hopping it is. Well, at least we get unlimited sprint, that's something. This chapter in general is problematic. As you know, a Gauss pistol is, well, a pistol, and with an effective range of about 45 meters, is quite low given the fact that we are fighting in large open areas. Second are the rebels themselves, or rather their equipment. They are now equipped with RPGs, which isn't exactly my major problem outside of those very specific cases where AoE kills me. And the other one are the scout cars, which are a major pain in the ass due to their health, firepower and mobility. Thankfully, in all 3 cases of them appearing throughout the game, they have different targets to focus on, like the Hunter, which, yes, it apparently can die. Kind of amazing, honestly. Also here we are introduced to boss quests and pit drones, which the latter is a major issue because in the years between Black Mesa and Entropy 02, it received quite a glow up to say the least. They are fairly lethal, quite tanky, and usually are in packs, which isn't really desirable to be honest. Boss quests on the other hand are not much of a threat. They are very cute and have babies, but that's really about it. Eventually, we land in a certain automated Arbite facility, known for having square ice roof and a lake beside it. In this said facility, we need to activate 3 switches to open the door to continue our journey. However, there's a problem, as one of the switches requires secondary fire of AR2 to proceed, which, as you can imagine, isn't the Gauss pistol. So, this is where the challenge ends. Goodbye. Forever. Well, that's what I would say if I would quit. So there are 2 ways to proceed. Either I can use the Void Glide glitch to skip the whole section, but that would require an APC, and I would have to leave the Wilson behind. And 2, I can just accept that I have to use AR2 and take criticism like a fanboy that I am. Just a brief joke later, we are forced to move into a different facility where we are introduced to Romanians, both regulars and zombie variants of them, which are quite dangerous if they close the gap, but otherwise they are not very threatening. Regular ones, on the other hand, are very lethal, and I would honestly say that they are the most dangerous enemy in the game. They're fast, their attack hurts a lot, they often appear in groups or with rebels, and on top of that, it might be just the hard difficulty or my skill issue, but I find it challenging to break sightlines with them. Oh yeah, there are also rebels with crossbows. Does anyone care about it? No? Great. With that thing being done, I proceed out of the cave only to discover that it's daytime, which is... Wait a minute, wasn't there supposed to be a polar day or night? What the hell did Combine do to our planet? Our Arctic regions are in fact Norway or something? I would guess it would make sense given that we have some sparse trees. What would also make sense is that it's a video game and I read too much into details. The next section involves me carefully making my way on foot through the road, sniping clueless rebels and aliens, as well as getting sniped by RPGs. Eventually rebels blew up a bridge which led to R/2, which led me to Cave Johnson's Lounge, which is a pretty fancy place. However, due to ever increasing rebel presence, it's not going to be so fancy anymore. The battle for the launch was a brutal one, with me being deathlooped at least twice, and I would say that it would be the end of the run, but I discovered one thing: the railings are OP. Unironically, they are very strong as they force Romanians to attack you, as they technically are in their sightlines, but since de facto you are in cover, it makes them waste their attack, which made dealing with them much easier. After a little arty strike, I was allowed to proceed forward into another Arbite facility, where Xenian wildlife was kinda chilling, and by chilling I mean endlessly killing each other. I had to power up a railway, and then I would be able to get into the Arbite 2, allowing me to catch up with Mossman. This section where I had to traverse the Zen ecosystem was me just sprinting, not looking past, and eventually getting over it, thankfully. Now, the minecart would be technically prohibited in accordance with the rules, but since you can't progress without it, literally, even speedrunners have to use it, I'll leave that as an exception. Arbite 2. Finally. Here the action really picks up, as we are once again on Mossman's heels, and the whole chapter is just non-stop action. I love it to death, probably my favorite chapter in the game. We move from building to building with our combined bodies, put down rebels, Romanians, and Breen knows what else. After some struggle, we reach a section which I was kind of dreading, the showdown on the roof. Surprisingly, however, my combined bodies got it and took care of the job for me, which honestly was very impressive for the combined AI to do, so thank you. Anyway, Mossman got away. Oh no. I guess she went into that excavation site which is below Arbite 2, and damn, what an excavation site it is. What a view. Also, while we're still here, I would like to highlight 2 times when the rebels threw themselves into the pit. Really nice.
The game is not going to release. Ever.
Last time I've played this section, there was a guy who killed himself on this little ledge over there. Like, he literally missed the spot. Oh, like him.
Now we recorded it, very nice.
Whoops. After figuring out that Mossman wasn't in the caves, I managed to get into the surface again and catch her up in the communications center. After a bit of struggle with rebels, I come to this room, which is covered by 2 turrets, which I initially thought they were descendants of the turrets from Overwatch Nexus, and they could be only destroyed by explosions. Turns out I just need to whack them hard enough for them to explode, and it's good because I already planned to break the entire map in Hammer, check for brushes, and God knows what else. Anyways, after that we have the last stand of the rebels, which they throw everything at us, from Romanians to rebels, of course, and at the end, a bundle of Zen grenades that summon so many monsters that it's ridiculous, from zombies to pit drones to bull squids, ending on an antlion guard, thankfully without workers. With the resistance being dealt with, we have a clear path to Mossman. However, my evil clone is still in the vicinity and also had killed the funny radio man. After many staircases, rooms, and a funny Easter egg, I reach Mossman, who hides in a room full of rebels. My clone soon enough catches up to us, and we have an escape sequence which boils down to me following Mossman whilst avoiding manhacks. Getting back to the warehouse, our clone gives up, and we have a small time to celebrate the achievement of my prime objective. Next up is the elimination of my clone. Reaching the primary excavation site, I have to deal with even more manhacks!
Holy shit. Even if I change sites, I still need to deal with those little flying shits. That's just beyond ridiculous.
Eventually I reach the core. My clone tells me how much I'm a puppet to the Combine and how we could unite our forces, but he never elaborates on his plans and remains purposefully vague, so a fight ensues. And now an interesting fact about this fight is that it seems that the scuffle is timed, and if you go past a certain point in time you automatically fail the fight. However, surprisingly I didn't have a problem with that. Which is a real miracle given the fact that, you know, I'm literally fighting with the worst handgun in the game. Yeah, very interesting. At the end of the fight we get teleported to the Borealis and I shoot the barrel and mortally wound both my clone and Wilson, who is on his last leg. Literally. We proceed onward, where our clone loses more and more of integrity of his voice, which is a nice touch, and finally we reach the final stand. This is it. Everyone is here. Wilson, Scar, which I rescued from the first Arbeit building, I forgot to mention that, whoops, and tons of rebels. They are tenacious, however, soon enough they are replaced by Zen fauna, including a freaking antlion guard, which is summoned by a zombie, which is carrying a Zen grenade. Talk about odds, eh? After that, Wilson passes away in my hands, and hopefully not in vain, as I upload him to the station, achieving deliverance. As if the achievement, not the Opeth album, sadly. Then I meet my clone once again, who is a little bit less vague this time around, but it doesn't really matter as he is literally on his deathbed, and soon enough he's crushed by a Combine advisor anyway. I welcome the said advisor with a solid kick to the head and start the fight. This is the final encounter of the game and it's quite different compared to anything dealt with until this point. The advisor will be throwing shit at you, and with the phases, those said objects will become larger and larger, starting at some random debris and ending on containers. With that said, there's a lot of leeway. You could use your Zen grenades to summon Romanians to fight at your side, but given that this is the Gauss pistol only challenge, this goes out of the window. Or you could cheese the boss. In 3 sides of the arena, there are houses which sides are invulnerable to containers or whatever advisor throws at you, so you could use them to abuse the AI of the advisor and falsely attack you without any risk from your side. Is this necessary? No, not really, no, but if you are struggling with that section for some reason, here you go. After killing the advisor, I destroy the ship once and for all, proving that yes, you can absolutely beat EZ2 with the Gauss pistol only. Hello, post-editing the gap here. In this section I was supposed to talk about how much of a hindrance Wilson is if it comes to this challenge, however I thought it was kind of directionless, so I decided to cut this thing off. As you can see in the footage, the entire run is quite possible, however, if you wouldn't go for the Wilson ending, I would say it's absolutely doable. The only thing that you need to get is the APC to perform the Void Glide glitch, and you are going to be Gucci for the rest of the game. Hell, you will probably finish the game in way shorter amount of time as well, because you don't have to carry him, and you are free to ABH everywhere and anywhere. But yeah, that's really besides the point, because now I have no idea what to do next, so hey, if you endured so long, please do tell me what do you want to see next up, because quite frankly, I have no idea what to do next. But outside of that, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and yeah, until next time, whatever it is.